Shabbat Shalom. How are you? My daughter is, yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But she's
Her school is in D49.
yeah, but she's not in a public. It's not a public school.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, is it?
Yep. It's a D49 school. I'll tell you more about after services. It was a very, very interesting experience. Absolutely, I'll tell you all about it. Yeah, it was very, very interesting. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube and on TempleShalom.com live feed, Shabbat Shalom to all of you as well. We're happy to have all of you with us. And I hope wherever you are, you're nice and warm, because it's warm enough in the synagogue, I think, here. I hope wherever you are watching online, you're warm as well. We're going to continue on page number 129 at the top of the page. There's some words that come from Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, a bit of a love poem for Shabbat. Dodi li vani lo aroeh bashoshani dodi li Vani lo aroeh bashoshani dodiri izodola min hamidbar izodola min hamidbar. Dodiri vani lo haroeh bashoshani dodiri. Page 120. As we'll see the blessing for lighting our Shabbat candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy with your commandments and commands us to light the candles of Shabbat. Page 130. We make our way through the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat as we say goodbye to the week and hello to the peace of Shabbat. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina, l'Adonai. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina, l'Adonai. Naria, naria, l'tzuri shenu, nekatafana betodah. Naria, naria, l'tzuri shenu, bizmirot naria lo. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina, l'Adonai. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina, l'Adonai. Psalm 96, page 131. Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz, all the earth will sing to God a new song. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, a new song from all the earth. Psalm 96, page 131. Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Shiru, shiru l'Adonai. Shiru, shiru l'Adonai. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and all sing along, all the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Light is sown for the righteous and happiness for those who are good-hearted people. Those words in Hebrew, 4 lines from the bottom of page 132. Or zarua latzadik u'yishrelev simcha. Or zarua latzadik u'yishrelev simcha. Or zarua latzadik u'yishrelev simcha. U'yishrelev simcha. Or zarua latzadik u'yishrelev simcha. U'yishrelev simcha. Lai 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 lai. Last night, I had the opportunity to speak during the open comment session at the District 49 School Board meeting. My daughter Ilana also spoke. If you want more details on it, during the Kiddush tonight, we'll talk a little bit more about it, but I just want to give my sermon on last night. And my sermon goes like this. It's on page 133. O you who love Adonai, hate evil. God guards the lives of God's loyal ones, saving them from the hand of the wicked. Light is sown for the righteous and radiance for the upright. O you righteous, rejoice in Adonai and acclaim God's holy name. That's my sermon on the board meeting last night. If you want to know more, during the Kiddush, we'll talk a little bit more about it. It was an interesting night. We're going to continue on page 135 from Psalm 99. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down at God's holy mountain. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, because Adonai our God is holy. And therefore, the commentary says, we too should strive to be holy. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachvu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachvu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachvu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachvu lehar kodsho. We'll read together Psalm 29 on page 136 and 137. A psalm of David. Ascribe to Adonai, O divine beings. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name. Bow down to Adonai, majestic in holiness. The voice of Adonai is over the waters. The God of glory thunders, Adonai, over the mighty waters. The voice of Adonai is power. The voice of Adonai is majesty. The voice of Adonai breaks cedars. Adonai shatters the cedars of Lebanon. God makes Lebanon skip like a calf, Sirion like a young wild ox. The voice of Adonai kindles flames of fire. The voice of Adonai convulses the wilderness. Adonai convulses the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of Adonai causes hinds to calve and strips forests bare. While in God's temple all say, glory. Adonai sat enthroned at the flood. Adonai sits enthroned, sovereign forever. May Adonai grant strength to God's people. May Adonai bestow on God's people well-being. We'll continue with Lecha Dodi on page 138 and 139 with verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'letchila. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki makor habaracha, merosh kedem nesurcha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Oreri, kiva orech, kumi uri, shir daberi, kivod Adonai alayich, la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. We rise, we face the door as we welcome in the image of the Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, tikrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat, nikavela la 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 lecha dodi, tikrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat, nikavela lecha dodi, tikrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat, nikavela. Since we're standing and we've greeted the Shabbat bride, we'll greet each other. Turn to the people around you and wish everyone Shabbat Shalom. For those of you online, on YouTube and on TempleShalom.com, Shabbat Shalom to all of you as well. Jim, good to see you. Shabbat Shalom. Is Betty Ann watching us up there, I hope? Hi, Betty Ann. Just said hi to Jim. So she knew you showed up. Exactly. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Good to see all of you. Shabbat Shalom. 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 Yeah, they let me in with the rest of you. Well, and again, Shabbat Shalom to all of you who are online with us today. We can come back to our seats and we'll make our way to Psalm 92 on page 140. As we say, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, it is good to give thanks to God. Ula zamer l'shimcha elyon, and to sing of God's name most high, giving thanks on another beautiful Shabbat. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulizamer l'shimcha elyon, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulizamer l'shimcha elyon, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon. Lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatecha ba'leilot. Yon b'chinor, Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulizamer l'shimcha elyon, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon. V'simchachtani Adonai b'cholecha, v'ma'aseh yadecha aranei. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulizamer l'shimcha elyon, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon. Ulizamer l'shimcha elyon, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon. We continue on page 144 with Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkada v'yitkada shmei rabba, Yamad yivrach Yerutev yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uvyomechon, Uv'chayi dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, Uv'izman kariv yimeru, Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach, Le'alam olam me'almaya, Yitbarach, v'ishtabach, v'itpa'ar, v'itramam, v'yitnaseh, v'itadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei d'kudesha, b'richu le'elam, min kol berchata, v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechemata, damiron be'alma, v'yimeru. Amen. We'll rise for Baruch Hu as we welcome each other to prayer, page 146. Lai, 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 Baruchu et Adonai, Amevorach, Baruch Adonai, Amevorach, Amevorach, Leolam Va'ed, Amevorach, Amevorach, Leolam Va'ed. We can be seated. We continue as we give thanks for creation with the words of Ma'ariv Aravim. We'll read together in English and then we'll sing the end together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly course according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. El Chai v'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu, Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Amari Aravim. Lai, 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 lai. For the gift of Torah and its lessons on page 150. We give thanks and say, Ki hem chayinu v'orach yameinu, that the words of Torah, they are our life and they are the length of our days. We often translate Torah, well, I don't, but many people translate Torah as law, the law. I think it's a terrible translation. It means the way. It comes from the same root as teacher. It comes from the same root as tour guide. So the Torah is a roadmap. If you, before you used Google Maps, maybe some of you you'd go to the auto club and you get a triptych. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're too young. But the Torah is our triptych. And as we go along, just like a triptych that you would go from page to page, right? As you made your way through the journey, we roll a little bit more onto one side of the wood than we did from the other as we go along on the journey. And it kind of tells us how to get from place to place, because it's the story of our life in that journey. And so we give thanks for all of those lessons that hopefully we learn, decide to take the correct path. I don't know about your auto club, but mine was always the highlighter was always orange. I don't know what the color highlighter at your auto club was, but for us it was always orange. Please don't put highlighter into the Torah. But we can highlight the words of Torah by studying them. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadita, Otanu limadita. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochvenu v'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu אל תסיר ממנו לעולמי. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. Praised are you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Let's continue with Shema and Vahafta, page 152 through 154. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvish'arecha leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem. Amen. We read together on 155. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. We come to our prayer of redemption, our words of Geulah. We'll read responsively as we introduce the Torah words of Michamocha, page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing at the shore of the sea. We find those words that our ancestors sang so long ago, the top of 155, as we sing those words now as well. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, the one who works wonders? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'edar kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot. O seifele, malchutecha rauvanecha. Okay, ayam nifni Moshe uMiriam. Ze'eli anu ve'ohu Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Page 160. With Hashkivenu, we say, God, please watch over us through the night. Give us good counsel for the sake of your name. Keep us in the shelter of your peace, and while we're sheltered, shelter us from enemy and illness and war, from famine and sorrow and from wrongdoing. Watch over us in our coming and our going. Protect us in Israel and all the world under that shelter of peace. Third line of the prayer, it says, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, and spread over us a shelter of your peace. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Yalai lai lai, yalai lai lai, yalai lai 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 lai, yalai lai lai, yalai lai lai, yalai lai lai, yalai lai 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 lai. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom alinu ve'akol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We remind ourselves of the importance of Shabbat with the words that come to us from the Exodus chapter 31. It's on page 162. As we say, the people of Israel will keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days God made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from all the work and was refreshed. Vishameru b'nei Yisrael et ha'Shabbat la'asot et ha'Shabbat b'dorotam berit olam b'iyuvim b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz Shvi'i. Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafash. Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafash. V'shameru, Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafash. V'shameru, Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafash. Rise as we'll join together in the Amidah on page 164 as we begin. A little zimun, a little meditation to bring ourselves out of one place and into another. Every once in a while, I'd like to remind myself about this idea that the rabbis of old said that we should take 3 steps back with the first 3 words of the zimun and 3 steps forward, walking out of our world and then walking into God's world, that this is a time where we begin communally and then we finish individually, panim el panim, face to face with God. And so let us say the meditation that gives us permission to enter into that world as we'll join together in the Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach Ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chaste Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, micha mocha ba'al givurot, umido melach, melech me'mit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol, Atah kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh. We continue silently all the way through page 180, 181. With your finished with your silent prayer, please be seated. Ose Shalom Bimroma Uyase Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imu Amen Ose Shalom Bimroma Uyase Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imu Amen Yase Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael 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 Yase Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. We'll turn to page 371. We ask for God to bring refuah shlema, complete healing, to Carrie Susser, Brian Zabel, Reuven ben Zipporah, Moshe ben Avraham, Avram ben Odul, Ellen McIntosh, Susan Perry, Paltiel bat Mordechai Bavasha, Faye Green, Malka bat Hilla Halevi, Cheryl Miller, Jessica Sidman, Yaakov ben Baruch, Yisraelit bat Hilda, Carol Miller, Howard Messerman, Judy Salkind, Yisrael Aharon ben Reuven Chaim Kohen, Harriet Neal, Shmuel ben Yosef, and Chris Kaplan. Do we have any other names that anybody else wants to include on this side of the room? Anyone names for healing? Yishav. We're going to add you, Yishav, to the list. Indeed, for Yishav Zaza and anybody on this side of the room. Any names for healing? For all those we've named and for all those in need. May they all receive refuah shlema, complete healing. Bimheira v'yameinu, and may it come to them as quickly as possible. Misheberach avoteinu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. This week, we read from Parashat Vayera. It's the middle of the Abraham stories. And at the beginning of the portion, which we read tomorrow morning, since we're in the first triennial cycle, in the beginning of the story, God is talking to Abraham. And suddenly it says in the Torah, 3 men appear, but we know that they're 3 angels that appear. And it says that Abraham runs to go greet them. I'd like to see the movie version because I read the sentence before the three men showed up. And the sentence before that says that Abraham circumcised himself and his son. And then soon after that, he ran to go greet the guests. I'm not sure it plays out that way, but the Torah says that it does. So he runs to go greet them, and then he tells his wife, Sarah, go get 3 seahs of flour and make cakes for our guests. Now, 3 seahs of flour. How many of you know what a seah is? Let me tell you in modern language, 3 seahs of flour is roughly 25 pounds of flour. Hurry, go grab 25 pounds of flour and bake some bread. Right on it. I'm not sure how big the oven is to bake the bread with the 25 pounds of flour. And then to the servant boy, go take a baby cow. I'm making dinner for 3 people. Go cook the entire cow. And then Abraham presents them with milk and yogurt, an entire baby cow, and I suppose a lot of loaves of bread. And they eat. And Abraham doesn't eat because it tells us Abraham stood by the tree as they ate. And the rabbis have a problem with this story. Okay, so they got a lot of problems with the story. But one of the problems they have with the story is this. They say, so you're going to tell me that angels eat human food? And I say, really, of all the problems in the story, that's the one that you guys want to focus on. Okay, so we'll go there with the rabbis. Angels eat human food? Of course they don't eat human food. They only pretended to eat the food to make Abraham feel good. Well, this creates a problem too, because the Torah says the angels ate the food. Rashi, the 11th century Torah master, says they only appeared to eat the food to make Abraham feel good. But the Lubavitcher Rebbe says that's a problem because we're supposed to run to go help guests. And what was happening before he ran to the guests? God was in talking to Abraham. Abraham was in the presence of God, and Abraham left the presence of God to go help some guests. The Talmud says that we should do that. Even if we're in the presence of God, we should leave God's presence and go welcome the guests. The Talmud says that if we are planting a tree that will provide fruit for someone and the Messiah comes, we should not go greet the Messiah. We should finish planting the tree. The Talmud says that if we are feeding guests dinner and the Messiah comes, we should continue to feed people dinner and then go greet the Messiah. Why? Because hospitality to the stranger is such an important concept that we should go run to help the stranger. Even if we're standing in the presence of God, we can turn our back to God. It actually says those words. We can turn our back to God and run to feed the stranger. But the Lubavitcher Rebbe has a problem and says if Rashi's right and they didn't eat anything, Abraham left God's presence for no good reason because they didn't eat anything. So they must have eaten, the Lubavitcher Rebbe says. They must have eaten the food. Well, why would angels need to eat food? Because food supplies nourishment. And as we all know, angels need nourishment. Not the kind that your doctor says you need for your body to take care of your heart and your lungs and all of your organs and everything that works in your body. Angels don't need that kind of nourishment. They need spiritual nourishment. And so when Abraham fed the angels, He was feeding them food that gave them spiritual nourishment. I'll bet you didn't know that several loaves of bread and a baby cow and milk and yogurt contained spiritual nourishment. But they do, because where do they come from? They all come from the earth. And who created the earth? God. And God's creation, every bit of it, is holy. So if we eat part of the earth, which is what we're doing when we eat the bread and the cow and the milk and the yogurt, we are eating and ingesting the holiness that God put into the world. And when we feed someone else, we are handing them holiness. And so we should run to feed the other. It means we should run to go put extra cans over at Care and Share and feed them physically. But it also means that we should run to help anybody in need to nourish them spiritually. Abraham fed the angels a lot of bread, a lot of meat, a lot of milk and yogurt. The rabbis like to argue about what do the amounts mean, but what it comes down to is this. Abraham gave more than was needed, as opposed to giving less than was needed. We feed others, whether it's feeding them physically or feeding them spiritually. We should do what we can to give them not the bare minimum amount and not even the amount that they need, but perhaps a little bit more. Because as we go on that journey, it's not a bad idea to stick a few extra loaves of bread into the backpack of the guys who are hanging out in your tent before they leave for their journey. And maybe it's not a bad idea to, in the pockets next to that bread in the backpack, put a little bit of spiritual nourishment in there as well. And that's what Abraham did with the angels before they went on their way, feeding them maybe physically, maybe spiritually, but setting an example for us that we should run always, even when we're in the presence of God. Run to make sure that we can give nourishment, physical or spiritual, to others. And if we run to do so, I think we make the world just a little bit better place, one spiritual nourishment at a time. We turn to page 586, to the very bottom of the page, as we'll rise for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kogoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kimishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamelachim, hakadosh baruch hu, shehu notei shamayim ve'yoser haaretz, umoshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al, ushchinatu zo v'govei meromim, hu Eloheinu einod, emet malkeinu efes ulato, kaka'atu b'torato, yadata hayom v'hashevota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim mima'al, ve'al ha'aretz mitachat einod. The middle of 590. Ki ha'malchut shelcha hi olam yimloch bechavod, kakatu b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar, v'ya Adonai le'melech al kol ha'aretz, v'yom ha'hu Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo echad. Ushemo echad. We can all be seated. In our yard sites this week, we recall the memories of Chester Superstein, Joe Hill, Judith Kaiser, Marvin Hadesman, Sarah Smith, Leonard Newman, Walter Katz, Harris Bernstein, Ida Sack, Leon Mello, Russell Funel, Simon Asulin, Donald Newman, Frank Dumont, James Perry, Mosek Shukir, Walter Sonderman, Abraham Klein, David Snyder, Jacob Rudnick, John Skorenke, Linda Albert, Mary Flax, Shirley Berman, Arlene Fishman, Fred Haim, Richard Rikus, Batya Gordon, Eva Rosenberg, Francine Bell, Joseph Schweller, and Pearl Weiss. Are there any other yard sites that anyone is observing? Yehu Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be an eternal blessing. We ask mourners to rise and those whose custom it is to stand with them. As we turn to page 598, as in their memory we sanctify God's name. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chaye chon uvyome chon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudashah b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbichata v'nechemata. Da'amiran ve'alma v'yimru amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav. Huyaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. We can be seated. Beth's got a few announcements. Oh, you can give them to me too. I'm happy to share a few announcements with all of you. First of all, Shabbat Shalom. Let me see, what do they say? Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for joining us. I'd like to thank myself for leading the service. It's what it says right here. What can I do? It's on the paper, you know.
I guess I should have read it then.
But we want to make sure that we recognize this evening and tomorrow morning we're going to have our entire list of aliyot are all people who are either retired or active duty military. Today is Veterans Day, and so we thank all of our retired and active duty military here at Temple Shalom, which we like to brag at Temple Shalom. It might be true. It might actually be true. We, of all the synagogues in America, we believe we are in the top 10 for percentage of members who are either active duty or retired military from all of our members. So I'm not sure if that's true, but I think it might be because I've seen the list, and it's a very, very long list, so kind of a cool thing. And so thank you to all of our service members. Sunday morning, tomorrow morning, Shabbat services at 9:30. Sunday morning, on Sunday, November 13th, this upcoming Sunday, is the semi-annual congregational meeting. Breakfast with the board at 9:30, 9:45 tefillah together, and at 10 o'clock will be the call to order of the meeting. Please make sure that you are here and you access the documents in advance online. There are a few important things that we need people to vote on. I think there's 3 voting action items, so we'd love for all of you to be here. And there are free bagels, and also we'd love for you to be at the meeting, and there are free bagels. So, and I think there's free coffee and also free bagels. That's what they're bringing us. And there'll be other munchies, fruit and other stuff, so please join us for that. On Monday, November 14th, our own Craig Karnick, who's sitting 2 rows in front of me right now, will be presenting a film at the senior lunch. You can dine in or get grab and go by contacting Susan Schenk. I think if you get grab and go, it makes it difficult to see the movie. But that's just I'm just reading what's here, and that's my guess, is that you have to do the dine-in if you want to see the movie. And so please join us for that. We've had some wonderful programming with our senior lunch program. Friday, November 18th, it is Belonging and Membership Shabbat. There will be a dinner that will be catered by our caterer and you. So the main course, Susan Schenk, our wonderful chef here, will be making the main course, and all of you online, and those who are going to view this next week maybe, you'll also be bringing dinner side dishes, so you can sign up for that online. This is our Belonging and Membership Shabbat. We're going to welcome our new members, and we're going to talk about all of our members who have been here for 1 decade, 2 decades, 3, 4, or 5 decades, and even a few people who've been here for longer than 5 decades, which is pretty amazing. So please join us for that. You can sign up online with your dairy parv dish by Tuesday, November 15th. If you know anybody who's ill or hospitalized or suffering a loss, please let us know in the temple office so we can have all of them join. We can be able to visit them and get them healthy and have them joining us here again once they're healthy. So please do let us know about that. Our crystal ball of knowing who is sick is in the shop. And so we need all of your help to help us find who is there. We're going to turn to page 645 in our Siddur. Right in the middle of the page, there are some words that come from Pirkei Avot, chapter 2, Mishnah 16. And it says that when we're trying to make the world a better place, you don't have to fix everything, but you don't get an excuse to not try. So you got to be a part of what's going on. You don't have to finish the work, but you got to be a part of the work. Lo alecha hamalacha ligmor, velo ata ben chorin lihibatel mimena. It is not your duty to complete the work, neither are you free to desist from it. So I'll sing it slowly one time if you don't know the tune, and then you'll sing it with me at the regular speed, but it goes like this. Lo alecha hamalacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor, lo alecha hamalacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor. That's part 1, very easy. Part 2 goes like this. Velo ata ben chorin lehibatel mimena, velo ata ben chorin, velo ata ben chorin lehibatel mimena, velo ata ben chorin. And now that you're all experts in the tune, we're going to bring it to the regular speed and you give it a try with me. It's a beautiful melody, I think, in really inspiring words. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor, lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor, velo ata ben chorin lehibatel mimena, velo ata ben chorin, velo ata ben chorin lehibatel mimena, velo ata ben chorin. All right, it's just one more chance. Here we go. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor, lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor, velo ata ben chorin lehibatel mimena, velo ata ben chorin, la 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 la, velo ata ben chorin lehibatel mimena, velo ata ben chorin. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. To those of you on YouTube and TempleShalom.com live, we say goodnight to all of you. For the rest of us, we'll make our way for Kiddush and Motzi. And any of you that want to hear the D49 school board story, we'll talk about that back there too. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.